Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fast Money Football. It's Albert Vartanian here, joined by James Sharman after yet another classic in the Champions League. Manchester City 4, Real Madrid 3. We had the fastest goal in the Champions League knockout history. 3 times Real Madrid went down, but thanks to one Karim Benzema, they bounced back heading into the second leg down 4-3. We'll talk about Benzema and some other things moving forward. But James, heading into that second leg next week, who's the happier team?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's funny seeing post-match Carlo Ancelotti on the sidelines smiling, seemed pretty happy. And the players for Real Madrid in defeat didn't look too disconsolate. I mean, that was an incredible match. So I think Real's happier because City were incredible in that match. They were brilliant. They were the better team. But they're only a goal up after a 4-3 barn burner. And then going to the Bernabeu now, that's going to be a huge challenge for them. They know what Madrid's like from the Atletico matches, of course. So as much as I thought City was superb in this match, the result's the result. Defensively, considering they had some issues, obviously, at the back, especially at fullback, they weren't very good. So I see Real have that real inner belief that they can do this. You know, I think they quite like being the plucky underdogs.
I know.
Which is ridiculous, right? It's Real Madrid for crying out loud, but that's kind of what they are at the moment, it seems. So yeah, given what happened and the way the game folded, I think Real's happier, I suppose, but it still sets up for what should be an incredible second leg.
Yeah, and let's not forget that was kind of a makeshift backline for Manchester City. No João Cancelo, who you can say maybe one of their players of the season, maybe one of the players in the Premier League this season. He was suspended for that game. He should be back for the second leg. Kyle Walker was out, which was a huge miss because he would be the one tasked with handling Vinicius. Instead, it was John Stones who went off injured, and then it was Fernandinho, who did a pretty good job up until he got burned by Vinicius, and Vinicius scored that goal. So I think a full-strength backline for City against Real, that's a real positive for them. But as for Real Madrid, I mean, going through this Champions League, a tough route to get to this point, you know, playing PSG and then Chelsea, now Manchester City, but they really haven't looked that good in any of those games. They come back. And if you look at some of the games against Chelsea, against PSG, they're usually coming back from some sort of deficit, just like they're going to be in the second leg once again. But it's tough to read this team because they haven't been that good, but at the same time, they have.
So can they be better, right? That's a question. Or is this just what they are? They are just that, one of the lesser of the big three left in this tournament.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And I think at some point it will catch up with them playing this way, you know, being outplayed and then finding something from somewhere being Karim Benzema in most occasions. You know, can they do that all the way to a trophy? I think it's fascinating to watch. You know, Carlo Ancelotti's been there, done that. He knows all about these kind of games. But he's being out-coached, I think, a lot, you know, in a lot of these games, you know. And I'm seeing that they are just being outplayed by better teams, but they're still getting results, which is just ridiculous. Are they the Cinderella team? I mean, now and again it happens, right?
Yeah.
But usually those teams play a certain way. Look at Porto. I'm aging myself now, way back when. But when Porto won with Jose Mourinho, they weren't the best team. They were often outplayed, but they knew who they were. They were a defensive team who were great at the dark arts. They kill games off, you know, and that's what they were. This Real Madrid team, that they can play defensively. We saw that against PSG, right? But then they can play attacking. They're not quite sure what they are, it seems, in this tournament. So I think that when push comes to shove, they'll be found out. It can't continue this way, but it's fun to watch. And it just shows when you have that experience and you have that inner belief that we'll find a way no matter what, it does carry you a very long way.
Yeah, and they have 3 key game changers in Modric, Benzema, and Vinicius. That really helps. But we have to wait 1 week for the second leg. But the odds are out, James. Real, plus 210, dogs at home to Man City, plus 110. But the real number I want to look at here is to qualify. Real Madrid to qualify to the next round, to the final, plus 350. Man City, minus 550. I know it's early, James, but your take on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why City are the big favorites in that. I mean, even though it's going back to the Bernabeu, simple as that, I think their luck will run out. It's that simple. I think City have done it. You know, it's funny, for a long time we're saying City haven't got that pedigree in the Champions League, and this is only their 3rd semi-final in the Champions League, whereas Real Madrid is their 31st semi-final in the Champions League, right? Which says everything. But that wasn't as if all these players were involved in all these years. So those kind of stats kind of throw me off a little bit. So it's not as if City is this bunch of newbies experiencing this new world. No, they've been here before. They've got to a semi-final, they lost. They got to a semi-final, they won. They then lost in the final. They've got a lot to fight for in this one. And just seeing how good they were yesterday, when they get Kyle Walker back, that's huge. When they get Cancelo back, and I agree with you, I think he might be the best player in England right now. I think it's probably De Bruyne. I think you get Salah in that conversation, of course, but he surprised me the most this year. He's the best fullback. And that's coming from a guy that loves Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's the best fullback, I think, in the Premier League. So I think they have the quality when those guys return in particular. They will have enough to prevail, which is why I think the odds are what they are.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think City go through, but you can't really predict anything, especially this year in football. Quickly on Real Madrid, they can actually win the La Liga title on Saturday with the victory over Espanyol. So they'll have that momentum going into the second leg if they do win. The Ballon d'Or, James, here's the criteria. I want to put this out there first before we get into the conversation of who should win. The award will be given to the best player of the season from August to July, not the calendar year as it has been for the past forever time. So at the moment, when you think about that, based on August to July, the season, which incorporates domestic league, domestic cups, Champions League, Europa League, whatever, who's had the better season than Benzema? Because I can't really think of one right now.
Yeah, I know. Firstly, I really enjoyed the fact that they go into this season award as opposed to the calendar year. It was very confusing, right? It never really made sense to me. It was always a problem. And also, they're actually, I think it's the top 100 nations to get to vote now, not some of those lesser nations. You always get these crazy votes. It was always fun actually looking at the FIFA award and the Ballon d'Or and who voted for what. There'd be some captain or some third division team in Norway, voting for, Craig Forrest as the Ballon d'Or winner, right? It was always a little bit nuts there. So, Benzema's been incredible. Look at the stats here, right? Benzema's been incredible. And not just the stats alone, but he scored the big goals in the big games. He's carried that Real Madrid team on his shoulders in the Champions League, right? 14 goals in the Champions League, 25 in La Liga. I mean, that is an incredible season. A guy that's really come into his own the last couple of years when before he was kind of in the shadow of Cristiano Ronaldo. But here's the complete center forward. Now there's Robert Lewandowski, who's getting no love right now, even though he got screwed over in 2020. Some would say he got screwed over last year as well. 33 goals again in the Bundesliga, 13 in the Champions League, right? So they're pretty incredible stats. Mo Salah's got 22 and 8. Kylian Mbappe's got 22 and 6. You know what, Albert? I think it comes down to there's a lot of football left.
Yes.
A lot of football left right now in this season. And usually this award goes to someone that wins the big prize. There's a lot of weight on that. Now, in the past, that's been a Euro or it's been a World Cup. But considering that Real Madrid still got a chance to win the Champions League and going to win La Liga, that really weights heavily in Benzema's favor. But if Mo Salah suddenly gets a quadruple and ends the season on fire with, say, 10 goals in his last 5 games, which is not beyond the realms of possibility, I think he's your favorite. Right? I think Lewandowski's out of the hunt now because Bayern are out of the Champions League and they've rolled again to another Bundesliga crown. And Mbappe is out of the Champions. So I think it's down to Benzema and Salah simply because they're still in the hunt for the big prize. And without an international tournament as such this year, that's going to count for everything. But right now, if I'm voting right now, I'm thinking going Karim Benzema simply because of the goals he scored, the magnitude of the goals he scored, and how he's thrown that great Real Madrid team on his shoulders and saying, I will carry you to the promised land.
Yeah, the big goals are very important. I like that show. 3 goals against PSG, 4 against Chelsea, 2 so far against City, 41 goals in 41 games. Already has a Super Copa, La Liga incoming, and the Champions League might be on there. But yeah, Salah, plus 500, already has the Carabao Cup, potentially could have the FA Cup, Premier League, and the Champions League. He's going to go right to the top of that list. But I think it's about time that, we have 2 players who thoroughly deserve it are actually going to be fighting for it come the end of the season. So a lot to look forward to.
And what about, sorry to interrupt there, but Kevin De Bruyne as well.
Right.
Who's come on since Christmas. And again, I think we discussed this last time. He's the best player in England when he's on his game. He was incredible yesterday once again. A guy that had a slow start to the season through injuries. He's found his form. What if he wins the Champions League and is the best player in the next 2 games? Possible, right? He's going to get a lot of votes as well. So I think it really comes down to that.
Plus 900 for Kevin De Bruyne and Mbappe at the bottom of the list there. Plus 1,000. I don't think he'll be winning anything, but he probably will be moving to Real Madrid. So that's something to watch out for as well. Quickly, the Champions League odds have been updated, James. City plus 100, Liverpool plus 120, Real Madrid 10-1, Villarreal 22-1. After the first leg of the semis, are you leaning towards any of these teams?
Oh man, no. I'll say it now. I'm not leaning towards Villarreal. I'll give them no respect, even though given what they've done. I mean, listen, they beat Bayern Munich, they beat Juventus. What do you want, right? But that wasn't a great Bayern team. It wasn't a great Juve team, and that's taken nothing away from Villarreal. I found it interesting. Jurgen Klopp has been saying that the advantage that Villarreal have had in the last 2 rounds has been the fact that their opponents underrated them. And he goes, that will not happen with us. He said it a few times now. He's really sending a message, I think, to his players through these quotes saying that will not be us. We understand. We know how Unai Emery manages games. Back in 2016, don't forget, Unai Emery's Sevilla beat Liverpool in the Europa League final. Mm-hmm. And that was the moment that Liverpool realized we're onto something big here. That was the start of it. It was defeat, but it's when they began to believe in what they can do and they're on the brink of something really special. And that's proven to be the case. So he knows all about Unai Emery teams. Simple as that. They will not underrate them. And I think the luck's going to run out. I think Villarreal, great story as it is, they won't be embarrassed by any stretch. But I think Liverpool will take this. So I'm removing them from the equation. So I just said City's going to probably advance. So it's going to be City against Liverpool in the final. Well, I'll tell you what, Albert, last couple of games, Reds looked pretty good, didn't they, against Man City? Yeah. So I'm going to jump all over that Reds bandwagon for the Champions League.
How much more can your heart take, James, come the end of the season?
I know. I'm trying to – it's so hard, and I've never hit the fact that I'm a Liverpool fan. I think you can tell me. I think I'm objective.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't think I'm biased. Yeah. I'm probably quite hard on this team over the years. But it's very hard to watch this from a journalistic perspective. And also from a fan perspective and remove that hat. But I think I'm doing an okay job. I've really been – I think City are going to win the league, for example. But I'm thoroughly enjoying it. My heart is, you're right, it's taking quite a beating right now. But I tell you what, it's just so much fun. I mean, my God,
is, yeah.
What do you want,
There's just so much going on. And, as a fan of the club, based on what they can possibly do in terms of the quadruple or win the Champions League, just being involved. I mean, it's hard to take yourself away from that. So I think it's good that you can show that side as well and be neutral. I think that's really important to find that balance. Because at the end of the day, one of the reasons why we got into this is because we're fans of the game. We can't really hide that, right? But we can definitely remove the bias. But I was going to ask you about Villarreal and why Liverpool should be any different to Juventus and Bayern Munich. But you already answered those questions, and I totally agree with you. Liverpool, just a different beast. Liverpool and Man City, just a different beast to any other team currently in the world. But for Liverpool, coming off a tough match, though, James, 2-0 to Everton, very tough match. At home, though, and that place is a fortress, only lost 6 times at Anfield in the last 3 seasons. I'm giving the edge to Liverpool, not only in the first leg, but over these 2 legs as well. For Villarreal, they're coming off a win, 2-0 against Valencia. But the big news coming into this one is Gerard Moreno picked up a muscle injury against Bayern Munich in that second leg. And there's really no direct replacement for him. And don't forget, this is a guy that scored 30 goals for them last season. He scored in the Europa League final as well against Manchester United. How big of a miss is this for Unai Emery's side?
Well, I'm not sure who else is going to score their goals. As simple as that. I love Moreno. He hasn't had the great season this year compared to last season when he was, frankly, as a superstar of European football. Yeah. He's a guy that doesn't look like a typical centre forward, right? He hasn't got that one thing you say, wow, look at the pace or look at the ability in the air or the set. He's a master of all trades, one of those guys, right? And you won't see him all game, then he'll pop up and he'll score a couple of goals. So I don't know where they replace those goals if he's out for sure. So that's a huge loss for them. But then, listen, Villarreal don't rely on goals. They're quite happy to kill games off. They can defend as deep as anyone and as organized as anyone. So, yeah, it's like I said, it won't be a blowout at all. Villarreal will do themselves proud, I'm sure, on this 2-leg. But at Anfield, like I said, it's a different beast entirely. Liverpool are great wherever they are. But at home at Anfield, that's one of the if not the toughest place to play these days. I saw Capoue, who, of course, played in England for years. You might have heard him a couple of times, Albert. Obviously, Villarreal now. He's saying how going to Anfield is an absolute hell. He called it hell. He said they are on you from the opening whistle. When they go up a goal, they still want to beat you. They want to kill you. They want to bury you. And he's been passing that on to the Villarreal players. That's what it's like playing at Liverpool. They're just like dogs on the bone at you all the time. And that'll be a lot, I think, for Villarreal to handle. So it'll be interesting for sure. Like I said, I give Villarreal credit and they won't embarrass themselves. But This is a different situation now entirely. And I think Liverpool are in that moment, semi-final of the Champions League, and Klopp said it again this week, saying, just we're trying to enjoy this as well, because being in the semi-final of the Champions League is a real occasion, and we shouldn't dismiss that. It's not just another game. It's a special moment, and a special moment for this club. So they're really taking it very seriously.
A lot of those players in the Villarreal starting 11 played in England, actually. If you look at Juan Foyth, Tottenham,
look at Morata,
Tottenham,
Liverpool.
Watford, Danny Pereira was QPR, I believe. Danjuma, Bournemouth. So, yeah, they have some experience in England. But, yes, playing at Anfield, completely different beast. I want to look at their away form, actually, James, in the Champions League. Not bad. 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. That 1 loss came to Manchester United in the group stage. But they beat Young Boys. They beat Atalanta. And they beat Juve. They drew Bayern 1-1 when Bayern needed to win. So they have some fight in them, and they know how to go away and pick up results. This is why I'm not going to completely dismiss them in this tie. I do still think Liverpool are going to go through. But I think in terms of bet for this game, I'm staying away from the betting market, not the betting market, excuse me, the winning market, and going with the totals instead. I like the under 3 goals at -120. I think Liverpool can come away with maybe a 1-0 or 2-0 win here.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting now too. No away goal rule in Europe, right? So, Villarreal may have thought to themselves, man, if we can nick an away goal, that could be really important for us as well. But that's not the case anymore. So they might be happy just to really sit deep, even more, not even show any aggression moving forward. So I'm with you. I think a low-scoring game, a 2-0, I'm thinking in this one, really makes me think that's probably the most likely outcome. And then, going back to Villarreal, that great little stadium where, they'll need to score goals. You can see maybe a different scoreline or higher scoring. But this one, first one, even at Anfield, even as good as Liverpool are, I see a low-scoring win. Don't forget also, I know they played Everton. That was tough. But generally speaking, throughout this campaign, they've responded really well from Champions League games. The next game they generally win in the knockout phase. So that's very, palatable, I think, for Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, and this is where the depth of the team becomes so important. Something we've been talking about for so long, where he can make changes if some of those players are tired. I really doubt players are going to go up to Klopp and be like, I'm a little tired after that Everton game. I'm going to sit out this one. But a lot of options going forward, a lot of options at the back. So that's the bet. I like the under 3. James likes Liverpool to win, probably 2-0, which isn't a bad bet, actually. I'm going to look at that as well. Liverpool to win 2-0. But that's it for Fast Money Football. Follow James Sharman at James Sharman on Twitter. You can follow me at TheRealBertV. And as always, please head over to parlay.tv for more parlay content. Good luck today, guys.